Well, hey, gamers. Okay, I'm just checking the mic levels seem to be fine. I don't know how long I'm going to do this until I stop, but welcome to the BlueGamer Bluecast Morning Show. I'm your host, Adam Blue, professional video game enthusiast for over 30 years, so I have a lot to say, not only when it comes to games I play, but also the industry. Hello there. Ultronymous, good to see you here in the chat. One of these days, we need to have you on as a guest. There, I said it. I put it in the universe. I'll get back with you later on that. So, what has been going on for May 16th in the world of video games? Not too much. Not too much has gone. Even with me. So yesterday, I think I played V Rising for maybe 30 minutes. I'm at a boss, because you're hunting bosses, where it's like he keeps killing me right when I'm at the end of getting his health. And that's the thing about this game, like it is almost completely awesome, and there are things that I will overlook just because I see it as a whole package. And to me, the combat in V Rising is boring. It's too much like a Diablo-like, and that's kind of what they're going for. That's what a lot of people like. But for me, it's more of it's exchanging hits based on cooldowns. I'm memorizing when the enemy or the boss is going to use their different powers, and so in between that, I have to just time my cooldowns. I can't be active. The only active sort of frame of mind you can have in these games is just in terms of, okay, when is that enemy going to use this magic? Okay, when is mine available? I really like my action games where it's moment to moment. I have things at my disposal that I could be using to either dodge, to close in for an attack, something and it's basically where a type of game like this is, there's really only one play style, really, even though there's multiple weapons. And maybe that will change over time, especially when I get the whip. I can't wait to fight Simon Belmont and get the whip. We'll see if that happens. Other than that, I think I played a little bit more of, or did I? Symphony of the Night? Yeah, I did actually. I did it on the big screen, just Richter mode, running around. The thing with Richter mode is you can just go straight to the inverted castle, the shaft, beat the game. But the thing I like about Castlevania is the exploration, especially with the controls of the whip. So, Richter mode, Symphony of the Night is just like a fun thing to just sit and do. And just how it's structured too, if you're running around in there, because there's you get to a save point and then it's, when am I going to get to the next save point? And so it's just a matter of exploring until then. It's like you almost have a frame of mind of saying, okay, I've gone this far, there's got to be a save point somewhere soon. And I think that kind of helps with the game, the pacing of the game. But other than that, yeah, I did not do anything much more than that when it comes to video games, or say actually playing them. So maybe let's jump into some news, shall we? Let me adjust that. Totally forgot to do that at the beginning, but it takes me a second. Okay, so this first one here is Lego and PlayStation are working on a new game called Lego Horizon Adventures. Couple things here that I find insane. Okay, let's first talk about Lego. Really knowing how to leverage its brand beyond physical, just because there's so many things nowadays that kids get into that are digital, and Lego is a physical first product, and being able to perfectly insert itself into video games is awesome, especially in Fortnite. And then whatever a company's going to pay you to use your brand, let them. So that gets to this other point, Horizon. Why Horizon? Nothing against Horizon. It's a perfectly game. And, anytime it's come out, yes, I guess it was against Breath of the Wild and Elden Ring, but it's almost been overshadowed when it comes out. This is one of those things, because PlayStation has the marketing money. They can market it and push it and make it look like a big deal production. But the game itself and it's not that it's a bad game. That's the thing. It's there's this, it reminds me of the band Kiss. When you see them in their makeup, it's like, damn, this band looks brutal. And then when they play their music, it's like soft rock, and it's like, So Horizon, Sony puts this production value into their games to make them huge and amazing. But then when you play Horizon, while it feels good, it doesn't do anything new to match the production value Sony is putting into it. So I think it's weird they're pushing this game so much, and I don't know why. And it's funny because when I will listen to other podcasts or read other articles, whenever Horizon's brought up, it's kind of that same thing. It's like, why? Why is this being pushed so much? I don't know. I feel like there's more Sony could do with an IP instead of this whole post-apocalyptic thing we see all the time. I don't know. But, you know, it could be, here's the other thing I will give them credit for, is for something seemingly as basic as Horizon, it is cool to see Sony kind of continue to push it and not just drop it like Warner Brothers did with the Zack Snyder stuff. I'm not like a huge Zack Snyder fan, and I'm not a huge DC fan, but when it comes to filmmaking, I like the idea that the filmmakers get to finish what they want to do, and sometimes once you get a little down the road, you can reflect on other things and be like, okay, that was pretty cool actually. And they kind of got that with these Snyder Cut. It kind of shows what he's capable of doing when there's little studio interference. So, but I think when Zack Snyder's completely writer director, it's kind of hard. Rebel Moon. So, okay. Yeah, that went off on some weird thing. Okay, more Xbox games reportedly coming to PS5 as part of Microsoft's Latitude project. And yeah, that's great. See, this is something that is good for the industry. Microsoft is doing it. Yeah, maybe it's good for themselves, but it's good for the industry. More people can play more games. While it already had a strong foothold on rival platforms thanks to perennial bestsellers Call of Duty and Minecraft, Xbox recently announced plans to bring additional titles to PlayStation and Nintendo Switch, starting with Pentiment, Hi-Fi Rush, Sea of Thieves, and Grounded. This push is called Latitude internally. More upcoming Microsoft-owned games slated for PlayStation are already being developed, the site claimed, at least for now. There are potentially obvious games you'd most likely expect. However, at least for now, there are potentially obvious games you'd most likely expect. But really, I'm curious to see what they think. However, nothing should be ruled out. From what I've heard, Microsoft is pushing for no red line for what games could come to PlayStation. And it all revolves around Satya Nadella and Amy Hood's mandate to increase every department's margins. So yeah, it's the mandate to make more money, but it's one of those things where then that's actually good for the market. It rarely happens, but when there's this intersect of, oh, what do we do to make more money? Well, how about make things more accessible? Make it better for the consumer. And yeah, it's cool. I embrace all this stuff. Man, especially if, let's say there's a game that's Xbox only, comes out to PlayStation, and already we see this with Sea of Thieves, but maybe it gets more users, or maybe it utilizes more of the PlayStation hardware in some way, like the DualSense, to kind of give it some more. I mean, that's the kind of competition I want to see. So then Microsoft's like, okay, what could we do to maybe make people want to play more on our console now that we see what PlayStation does with games on their console? You know what I mean? I don't know. We'll see. Okay. Moving on. PS2 Star Wars: The Clone Wars seemingly coming to PS Plus in June. Okay. That was also on Xbox. But yeah, I guess it's very interesting how there's these multi-platform Star Wars games, but then Sony's pretty good at like making some exclusively come to their platform. I don't know how that works, if that's Sony's call or that's LucasArts going, well, this is the biggest audience, even though they could multi-platform. Again, I still don't understand some of that, but this was an okay game. Microsoft reveals new Proteus accessibility controller for Xbox. Now, I want to say that this is already announced, but it's still cool to see anyway. Yeah, just some modular thing where you can like make a controller work for you. I mean, I'm down for this. It's just crazy that it's $300 because I sometimes, and maybe this is wrong, conflate accessibility with maybe also struggles, right? If someone has some accessibility issues, there's probably other struggles in other areas that could be financial. So for $300 for that, I wish there's a way to make it cheap, or people that do have some sort of accessibility, a physical accessibility issue or whatever, that would use a controller could maybe somehow submit to get one. Yeah, it's a great idea though. I mean, when I think of the future of controls, like this image just kind of lays it out for me. Like there's different components for controlling a game, and it could be used in whatever way. Not that I really do that a whole lot, but I just see when it comes to the different feeling, and I have all these controllers here, the different feels of grips, buttons, and how I sometimes prefer one over another and would like to customize. So I could see that being the future. Let's see. Some Star Awards. Bandai Namco appoints Adrian Guerra as country manager for UK Nordic. So Bandai Namco has been doing a few different things there, and it looks like they've been doing some internal shifting. I wonder what that means when companies do a lot of shifting and it's mainly internally. And it probably means what it means for everyone else right now. So that's, look at PlayStation. They have 2 new CEOs that were already within the company. So a lot of these companies are, it's trimming, it's figuring out what do we have that we can utilize. And man, it's getting dark outside. It's supposed to rain all day. It was already raining when I was walking my youngest to school, but it was just sprinkling a little. Okay, the Epic Games Store will reportedly offer 4 free AAA games over the next month. If you don't already use the Epic Game app on your PC, you probably should. I mean, look, I know people don't like a lot of extra apps, but it takes me just 5 seconds to load it up. And actually, let me load it up right now, and maybe I could share my screen. Wrong button. Yeah, let's see. And anyway, why I'm saying this is I know a lot of people don't like a lot of launchers, and to be honest, I don't like to have to download an app for everything. But what's cool, and like I already have it loaded up, is how they have like the free games that you can get. Move this over a little more. Yeah, free games that you can get, and we got the mystery game coming up. So like this, okay, I'm totally messing this up. This is really awesome for people that want to get into PC gaming because you're getting free games, and Epic Store already has cool free games on there in the first place. It is, I will say, it sometimes feels annoying when I'm juggling between the Xbox, the Epic Store app, but it's like I'm not doing it in Steam. It's not like I'm doing it much. It's usually I know what I'm going to sit down and play, so it's not a big deal. But that's just cool. That's just cool, and it starting today, I guess not yet, but sometime today with Dragon Age Inquisition. Huh. A game I never played, might try it out. I know some of the Dragon Ages had turn-based combat, some had real-time. We'll see. Okay, Assassin's Creed Shadows is on a scale similar to Assassin's Creed Origins. Interesting that that's the comparison. So Assassin's Creed Shadows is the new Assassin's Creed that takes place in Japan. They released a video on it, but it was really just like a CGI movie. I know people like that stuff, but for me, it's like that doesn't really show me the game. But what's really cool is you play a female shinobi and then a male samurai who happens to be African. And why is it that he's African? It's very interesting because when I was in high school, I was obsessed with the idea of an African samurai. I loved the idea of drawing the dreadlocks in the way that samurai would, but I also liked the idea, like my story was, it was World War II. He was part of a group of slaves that were kidnapped from their country, and he just ended up through like a shipwreck and something in Japan. And I guess the Japanese shogun or whatever at the time found this guy intriguing, and I realized we end up seeing that in these shows anyway. It's weird how this like the story of the Western world and Japan meeting up, but they always have these similar themes. Anyway, in this story, this guy ends up becoming a bodyguard for, again, this is like the similar stuff we see with like Shogun, becomes a bodyguard for this dude, and in it, I guess he meets some American soldiers, one played by Bruce Campbell. Yes, that's in my story. And then it's Bruce Campbell as this like military sergeant dude, and this this African samurai. Just gotta teaming up, fighting bad guys. That was kind of a cool story. I need to try to see if I can find that. Anyway, the point of that was to say that Assassin's Creed Shadows is looking good. Assassin's Creed Origins was the last Assassin's Creed that I played start to finish. Not 100%, but in terms of playing it to where, you know, I'm still doing all the stuff, but it's like, okay, I'll just beat it. And man, what was that, 2017? I forget when that was, but that was a while ago. Anyway, I liked that scale because I felt like it was big, but it was almost condensed because there's a lot of areas on the map where there was really nothing. So it kind of gave you an idea of where to hang out. You know, the other thing that I find interesting is how much of the mechanics of controlling the assassin is going to be different. I know with Mirage, they added you know, and Mirage wasn't bad. It was just so basic for me that I had no reason to play through it. But also the combat, like, wouldn't it be cool if Ubisoft took their time to make combat kind of a new revolutionary thing in Assassin's Creed, where it's like people want to play Assassin's Creed for the combat, but then stay for maybe the story, the exploration. And it's funny, like I've always found the Assassin's Creed franchise to be just okay, where there's games that are good and then games that are bad, and I haven't played them all either, and some I've started and just was like, nah, I'm not going to play it. It's very interesting, and it feels like Ubisoft does change things up a lot. Okay, Starfield may update. They're now getting the 60 FPS mode. I mean, a lot of this tells you that another issue with gaming development nowadays is they're never really done when they release a game. How often is that the case? Like, not only does it now get a 60 FPS mode, but I think it could use another year. I know that might sound crazy, but then we look at how Nintendo is usually done with a game for a year or so, and then they release it, and it's tight. How often do they need patches going out? Let's see here. Wow, that's a lot of stuff. Okay, Another Crab's Treasure. I guess it's a review of it. I spoke on it, and I think it's good. It's just like Souls. If you're a Souls-like addict, Another Crab's Treasure is worth checking out as long as it's on a platform other than Switch. Okay, that's something to keep in mind. All right, digital Xbox 360 games are being discounted ahead of upcoming store closure. So that is something I've been actually checking out. And yeah, I remember, oh yeah, didn't I click on this yesterday? And there we go. It's like I want to actually get to it. Yeah, here we go. I looked through this and I didn't see anything that I felt like I had to grab, although I might want to go in and look at games that maybe are not discounted, but maybe the only / best way to play are on Xbox 360. I still have my 360. It's not hooked up right now, but the Fist of the North Star games I love on there, even though there's other ways you could play it. PS3 really being it. Yeah, this might be worth checking out to see if there's any games. If you even have your 360 hooked up, most games are updated and backwards compatible. So it's like one of those things where, what are some games on the 360 that literally are nowhere else? I want to say Black Knight Sword might be, because I think that's a game. Let's see, I forget who. It's one of those prestige Japanese developers. I'm so cheap. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get this later. But I wish you would show me on here. That's weird that it doesn't give. That's like maybe the way the store was in the past. So Black Knight Sword and everything's Dark Souls related, right? So, didn't mean to do that. So okay, game. Developers, Grasshopper Manufacturer. Okay, isn't that the guy who then left and went to the studio that just got shut down? Or maybe not. So it's a bunch of ex-Capcom people, which probably had, the developer that went on to, what is that game? The Hi-Fi Rush people. They had some people from this developer. So that might be the game to check out. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look at this later. If anyone has suggestions for good, like 360 only, like not PS3, not a remaster or a port, but just 360 only game, I want to be able to grab them before the store closes. And that's in July that it's being closed. Is the new Call of Duty Black Ops 6 answered? Okay, well, let's see what that answer is. As it turns out, yeah. So this is news you already know. Thanks. Thanks, Brandon Morgan. Let's see. Yuden Chronicle 100 Heroes is April's best-selling game. Wow. That's that one that looks sweet. But don't know if I'd play it. But that's cool. Congrats on that. Ubisoft reports record bookings for 2023. This language is weird because what are bookings? Performance is driven by... Okay, so I guess... it's interesting that Rainbow Six is still huge. Very interesting. Like digital revenue hit as a 34% increase. So that could be due to some of their offerings in terms of services with their UB Connect platform. You know, they've been updating it too. There's like this beta version. And, you know, I don't know. I wonder how much it helps to have a storefront in some way. Like when you have to download a game from Steam, it's like, well, here's a Ubisoft launcher. Now you're in the Ubisoft launcher. Here's some sales. Here's some unique items you can get for your game. Like we were just talking earlier about like, oh, another storefront. But the inconvenience is so minor most of the time that I think it's kind of cool when these stores can do this and kind of offer a unique experience. And if that helps Ubisoft so that they can continue making games, because again, they're one of the last AAA publishers, and I feel like they are hanging on by a thread. Yeah, so that's cool. So Ubisoft projects that net bookings for Q1 of its 2025 fiscal year will hit approximately 299 million, which would be up 3%. I mean, yeah. So yeah, they've got Shadows and Star Wars Outlaws coming out. That's pretty good. And I'm still waiting for that Heartland, whatever that one was called. It was that add-on for Division where it had like a survival aspect. You drink water to survive. And I think that's cool. But I haven't heard much about that. Like I remember even last summer, there was some sort of beta in... Oh, yeah, and then the free-to-play X Defiant. I talked a little bit about that yesterday. Really curious to see how that does. Again, hope for the best. And you never know, but I just can't see it. All right. Oh, Toys for Bob could be gearing up for a new game announcement. I wonder if this is related to Xbox, where, you know, they made a deal with Microsoft where they're no longer under Xbox, but they have, like, exclusive games that they can make. But at the same time, it's more of, it doesn't have to be exclusive for Xbox, just Xbox has the publishing rights and then can put them on any platform, which is a cool way to go about it. This is cool, although I will say the past few pre-order statues I've gotten haven't been the best quality. But I could only see them getting better, like with action figures. As I collect, you know, newer ones that come out, they get so much better. Let's see. Anything else that's interesting? Sorry, oh yeah, Ubisoft cancels Tom Clancy's The Division Heartland. God dang, so they actually just straight up cancel it. Wow. As part of Ubisoft's efforts to streamline its operations and adapt to evolving market trends, there have been further reorganizations within the... Yeah, I guess this is the new thing now. Every company is having to do this. They're having to cancel things they've been working on. It is too bad. Wow. I think that's going to be the headline because that's the most interesting thing for me to happen this week is Ubisoft canceling their Heartland game. It would just be like if they said they canceled X Defiant. Like these, you know, and Sony even said that their new live service game starts with a C or something like that. Contraband, maybe not. Something is coming out this year. So we still have these companies releasing live service games have been in the works, and it seems like Heartland has been in the works for a while. It's too bad. Let's see. Last of Us series season 2 has entered production. Good for them. I couldn't get into it. It's one of those things, again, where it's like, I've experienced this sort of storytelling, these emotions and storytelling, so this is for a newer generation. Let's see. It's funny how they're saying the Assassin's Creed Shadows map is around the same size as Origins, because Origins was pretty big, but it also had a lot of empty area, which I think was fine. It was like done on purpose to kind of give you a scale of like the desert part of Africa in Egypt. So I wonder if they're sort of going to do that where there's just going to be mountainous areas or something. I don't know. You know, because on one hand, it's like, does every inch of a open world need something for the player to do? On one hand, yes. On one hand, no. But what if it's no, make it fun to explore anyway, where maybe the graphics are just really good? You know, I feel like something like that is very immersive. Like maybe there's areas where there's not a lot of things to find, but you can bring somehow. What if you can make a camp in like a deserted area in one of these games where you know enemies aren't going to come up to you, but you could just camp, maybe work on some stuff, you know, like, what do you call it? When you add 2 items together and you create a new item. It's in every game. Crafting. Wait a minute. Assassin's Creed Shadows has 15 developer support studios? I mean, that's the problem. Dan Houser Studio is making a third-person open-world game, so it's the ex-Rockstar guy on some of the original GTAs is going to be making his own. So it would be cool to see. It's cool to see what comes out of him, to see what DNA he had that he was offering to the GTA franchise. So, yeah, it's redeployed. So I guess with the closure of Heartland, it's allowed them, to move those resources onto X-Defiant and onto Rainbow Six Siege. So Siege is making the money, and X-Defiant is like their latest release. Really interesting to see what happens with all that. So yeah, so that's mainly been the news. There's been a lot of Ubisoft news, pretty much. This has been an Ubisoft week. So yeah. Ooh, final patch for Hi-Fi Rush today. I wonder what it's for. Anyway, I think that's it for today, guys. Not too much going on. Just, I mean, there's some Assassin's Creed news, which is pretty cool. Sad news about Heartland getting canned. I was actually looking forward to that. I want some, because the Division developers that are doing Star Wars Outlaws, oh my god, I forgot their name. All of a sudden, they are really good developers. Like, they understand, like, in terms of mechanics, like, I think Division is one of the best controlled shooters, action games ever. Man, I'm surprised how dark it is outside. Like, there's a storm coming. And so for them, the concept of Heartland seemed really cool, because I like the realism of the Division and the controls, and I like the idea of being in a suburban environment, but then having to get water to, you know, it reminds me of what we find interesting in our lives. Like, growing up in the suburbs, every 5 years or so, my parents would buy a new home, you know, and like I was kind of that late 80s to early 90s of like suburbia. You know, I think it was great imagery at the beginning of the Zack Snyder Dawn of the Dead when they were setting that up, because it was like I could totally relate to where the environment they were in. Not that everyone was growing up, but I like the idea of a game where you are kind of traversing suburbia, where it's just like all of these homes, and you never know, you might find a home where there's a bunch of water. I think Dead Rising did a good job of this with the third one, if I'm not mistaken. They had some areas that were suburban-like. Anyway, that's very interesting thoughts that I'd like to see play out. It makes me want to go back and play some older games. State of Decay, that's another good example, and I kind of want to get back to that. It's interesting how I'll get into a game that is more, it's like V Rising, where it's less about this path you go on and more about an explorative journey. but it's easy for me to then jump into a game that is like kind of like, okay, this is my mission, and then I forget about these other games. I need to go back to that. Anyway, that's it. Thanks all for watching. Have a good rest of the day. I will be back tomorrow morning on Friday for some more news and game talk. So all have a good day. We'll talk later.